Good morning, welcome to our Shir and Torah Time. We are up to the last Perek in Melachim Beis, which begins Vayhi Bishnas Atshiyas L'Mochoi. It was in the 9th year for Tzidkiyahu. If you look in the last psukim from the last Perek, it seems to be going on Tzidkiyahu. It was in the 9th year of the reign of Tzidkiyahu. After he rebelled against Nebuchadnezzar, b'chodesh asiri b'asar l'chodesh, the 10th month, which was on the 10th day of Chodesh Teves. But Nebuchadnezzar melech Bavel, hu v'chol cheiloi al Yerushalayim, v'yichen alea. Nebuchadnezzar laid siege to Jerusalem, v'yivno alea doyek. They built a tower which was like a battering tower, like a tower in order to break through to the wall, sovev around it. Agav, this is where the word diak comes from. Doyek was like a tower that was made to breach a wall. When you have a diak, it comes from the same lashon of going into something. And they laid siege to the city ad Ashta Yesrei Shana L'Melech Tzidkiyahu until the 11th year, which means the siege was about 2.5-3 years. B'Tisha L'Chodesh, in the 9th day of the month of Tammuz, V'Yechzak Harav B'Ir, the hunger grew in the city. V'Lehoyo Lechem L'Amoretz, there was no bread for the people. V'Tibok Al-Ir, and the wall was breached. And all of the soldiers, halaylo, they ran away. Derech shar bein hachamisayim, through a hidden entryway that was between the choimos, between the walls. Asher al gana melech v'kazdim alois ha'ir saviv, and the Kazdim, which are the Babylonians, are surrounding the city, and they were going through Tzidkiyahu's cave, through this cave all the way out to come out to Arvos Yericha, somewhere by the Dead Sea. Now this is problematic that it says B'Tish L'Chodesh, because we know that it was really on Shiva Asar B'Tammuz, not on the 9th day on Tammuz. So in the Gemara, the Yerushalmi says that it's a mistake in Cheshbon over here, that really it was Shiva Asar B'Tammuz. Otherwise, it's talking about the difference between the first Beis Hamikdash and the second. But like upon it's generally accepted that there was on Shiva Asar B'Tammuz that the wall was actually breached. But regardless, they ran away doing the secret channel, the secret tunnel underneath the king's palace. And the Babylonians were running after the king. But they obviously didn't know where he was, because he just ran away from a secret tunnel underneath. Chazal say that he should have been able to escape. But Hashem made a deer begin running, and the Babylonian soldiers were chasing after the deer. And as soon as it got exactly to the opening of the cave, that's when Tzidkiyahu exited with his soldiers, and that's how he was captured. And as soon as they realized that they were being captured, and all of his soldiers ran away from him, and they abandoned him, and they left him alone. They captured Tzidkiyahu. They brought him up to Nebuchadnezzar, to Rivla. And they brought him to justice. Now, the reason why they brought him to justice was because, if you remember, we spoke about it, that he gave a shvuah to Nebuchadnezzar. The Gemara says that he promised him, or he swore to him, that he's not going to spill his secret, that he saw him eating a live hare, a live rabbit. And later on, he did spill the beans, and officially he went to the Chachamim, and the Chachamim were mataneder, and Nebuchadnezzar held a Chachamim accountable that he wasn't there. You can't be matter the neder without the person who made you make the neder should be over there. Regardless, Vaidabrit Mishpat means he was now going to pay him back and serve him justice for breaking his promise. And that's aside from the fact that he rebelled against him. But it was primarily this personal humiliation that he suffered, where Tzidkiyahu spilled his beans. And because he was murdered b'melech, as b'nei Tzidkiyahu shochatu le'einav, they slaughtered Tzidkiyahu's children in front of his eyes. V'seini Tzidkiyahu iver. Then they blinded Tzidkiyahu, which means that they made that the last visual memory that Tzidkiyahu had was of his children being killed in front of his own eyes. So that was the last thing that Tzidkiyahu saw. They chained him with Nechushtaim as iron chains. And they exiled him down to Bavel. So this is like a terrible, terrible story. It's like very symbolic of the whole exile, the whole story of how it ended with Tzidkiyahu. Is that the last memory that the people had from being in the Holy Land, Eretz Yisrael, was memories of people getting killed. U'b'chodesh ha'chamishi, and it was in the 5th month of Chodesh Av, b'shiva l'chodesh yishnas tsha'es rishon l'melech Nebuchadnezzar. Here again you have an issue that it says the 7th day, but in reality we know that it was on Tisha B'Av. Pashtus, what it means is that that's when they actually got into the Beis Hamikdash. So it was like on the 7th and the 8th day, that's when they were like partying on the Beis Hamikdash. They were desecrating the Beis Hamikdash, and then on the 8th day and the 9th day, they began burning until at night and went up until the 10th day. That's why I saw that the Moshe Paskins, that even if you can make siyumim on the 9 days, it's still from the 7th day and on. You should not, because that's when the actual Churban Beis Hamikdash began. B'chodesh ha'chamishi b'shiva l'chodesh yishnas tsha'es rishon l'melech Nebuchadnezzar melech Bavel bo Nebuzaradon Rav Tabachem. He's the chief executioner, and he comes Eved Melech Bavel Yerushalayim, and him and his legions enter the Beis Hamikdash. And that was on Tisha B'Av, Vayisref es Beis Hashem, es Beis HaMelech, es Kol Bot Yerushalayim, es Kol Beis Gadol, Sorav Eish. Every house of prayer, every house where people convened and came together was burnt by fire. All of the Bate Knesiyas, Bate Medrashes, es Choymes Yerushalayim, Sovev, Notzu Kol Chel Kazdem, Asher Rav Tabachem. They broke the barrier, the wall around Yerushalayim. And whoever was left over by the city who wasn't killed, as hanoiflim, and those who were just running away on their own, those who surrendered, he exiled them to Babylon. From the poor people, from the remnants, the ones who were lakoidmim v'liyoigvim, those who were vineyard tenders, the ones who were gardeners, and those who were ditch diggers, because he wanted to maintain the assets that he just captured, those he left behind, that they should maintain the infrastructure of the agriculture. And here's where they plundered the Beis Hashem, where they take the 2 pillars which Shlomo Melech built in the Beis Hashem, which was the Yochanu Boyaz, and those were those little wash basins that Shlomo Melech built, and the Yam Shel Shlomo, that was that large copper basin that was on the backs of those cows, of those oxen. Asher bebeis Hashem shiviru kazdim, they broke it, vayiswas nechushtam ba'avela, and they took all of the copper to Babel, Ves Hasiros, Ves Hayoim, Ves Hamizamros, Ves Hakapos. So these are all the rakes and the forks and the shovels and those narrow bowls and the spoons. Ves Kol Klei HaNachoshes As Yeshorsu Bam Lakachu. They all plundered them and took them away. Ves Hamachtos, Ves Hamizrakos. The machtos is what you used, those little shovels for the coals. As a mizrakos, those were those little kalim that you gathered the blood for the karbonos. Asher zov, asher kesef. Those were made from gold, and those that were made from silver. Lo kach rav tabachim, the chief executioner took them too. And now we repeat again, it was so tragic that we're making again account of all the treasures that was plundered from our Beis Hamikdash. Amudim Shnaya, the two copper pillars, which was the Yochanu boys, which once represented Yochan, that they're ready, boy Oz, that here is strength. Shlomo Melech made in the Beis Hamikdash, which was when a person walked through them, he was in a mental state of preparation, and there was strength. There was boy Oz. He came into came with tremendous hashirah. Ayom echad, the one big Yam Shel Shlomo, v'amachoynos asher asher Shlomo, which were the basis for these wash basins, the base Hashem, lo yehoyo mishkol and choshes. There was no number that could count the weight of the copper that was plundered, kol hakelim ve'ela, from all of those vessels. And these amudem were shmoina esrei amo, koi maso amud echad, 18 feet. And there was like a crown olive on top of that pillar in the chushes that was made from copper. And just the height of that koiseres was 5 amas. And the top part of it was sholosh amos, was 3 amas, which means the top part of the crown, which went above the copper. And it really was 5 amas, but it was a part of it that was like sitting on top of the amud, so that took up 2 amas. So there was 3 amas on top. So you were left with 3 amas. Ushvacha, and that was like the woven part that was around it. Virimoinem, and all of these decorative pomegranates. Everything was made from copper. And the same too, there was also these pomegranates hanging from this woven like screen that was around it, and that was also plundered. And then he took all the important people who were left over. Remember that already by Yechonia we took already the Cheresh v'Amazger, but here was the next clean out from all the important people, the elite. Whoever was still left, he was the Sgan Kohen, the assistant, these were the ones who were guarding the vessels of the Beis Hamikdash. He took one of the officers who was in charge of that legion of the army, and 5 people who were from the hose mansion, from the people who used to hang out by the king, and the scribe, who knew the people, he knew the census. And 60 people who were like honorable people from the regular Hamoinam, and he took this whole entourage of random people. It wasn't random, it was with the cheshbon that they were going to, again, this is always with an intention to demoralize and break down the strength of the people by taking away the elite and the leadership. He takes them to Nebuchadnezzar. He kills them in the land of Chamos, the land of anger. And Yehuda was exiled from his land. Now, there's more details in the end of Yirmiyahu that would be like would fill in all the missing blanks. And this is the ultimate, most tragic event of it all. So we went through already, we have here all the Tanaisim over here. You have here like, you have here Asara B'Teves, you have Shavasa B'Tamuz, and you have here Tisha B'Av. Here you have Tzem Gedalia. V'Oma Nishar Be'eretz Yehuda, Asher Hishin Nebuchadnezzar Melech Babel, and the ones that were left over, V'Yafked Aleim is Gedalio ben Achikam ben Shaphan. They appointed Gedalio ben Achikam ben Shaphan, who he should be like the leader. I wouldn't even call him a king, but he should be like the ruling officer over whoever was left under the auspices, under the jurisdiction of Babylon. And Chazal said that he was a great tzaddik, Gedalio ben Achikam, and it's a machlokes if he was Mizera David, if he was from the lineage of the house of David, from Malchus Beis David. But regardless if he was or he wasn't, it was a tzaddik. Vayishmu kol serech hayalim, and those that ran away from Yerushalayim, Hema v'anoshim ki hifkid melech Babel as Gedalio. They heard that that Gedalio became now the new ruler. Vayavel Gedalio. So they were hiding. Otherwise, they wouldn't have been able to be there. And they came back. Vayavel Gedalio, who was Hamitzpah, v'Yishmol ben Esanyo, v'Yochanan ben Koreach, v'Siraya ben Tanchumes, Hanatoifosi, v'ya Zanyoum ben Hama'achosi, Hemo v'Ansheim, v'Yishovelem Gedalio v'Ansheim. So Gedalio swore to them, v'Yoim lehem al tiru me'avdei akazdim. He said, don't be afraid. They came back. They were obviously afraid because they were on the hit list of being the elite. But now when they came back, Gedalio told them, don't be afraid of the Babylonians. As long as we're going to be machnia, and as long as we're going to accept that they're now the ruling power, they're going to let us be. Shivu ba'aretz ve'ivdu es melech Babel v'yitav lachem. We're going to take taxes, we're going to pay to the ruling king, we're going to accept, we're going to be makabel on ourselves the exile that was decreed upon us, and we're going to be able to live over here. Vahiba chodesh Ashvi, which was in chodesh Tishri, which is Rosh Hashanah, Bo Yishmoel ben Esanyo, who actually, the only reason why he's being around here is because Gedalio gave him, told him that he's going to be protected. Bo Yishama ben Esanyo ben Elishama Mezera HaMalucha, and because he was Mizera HaMalucha, he said that, hey, I am from the Zera of the kingdom of Malchus Beis David. Therefore, I am the one who is right to be king. I'm more worthy of being king than Gedalio. That's usually how all exciting things happen. Who is more worthy of being the king? L'chaim. Ve'asaro anoshim itoi v'yakoes Gedalio v'yamois. And they killed Gedalio. Now Chazal say that really he was warned, but he didn't believe. And he wasn't makabel lashon hara. He wasn't makabel that he was intending to kill him. So vayakos Gedalio vayamois v'esa Yehudim v'esa Kazdim asher hayu itay b'mitzpah. They killed everybody who was over there, and this was like the last hope. There was a last remnant left, and there was one Gedalio, and there was hope that it would be able to repair and rebuild again from the koimetz, from a small, tiny amount of people. They would be able to rebuild it, and that too was dashed once again from cheshbonis of mi beroish, of who is going to be. It's like, who's going to be in the position of power over who? Who are we talking about? We're talking about there was nobody left. It was the poorest of the poor. There was a remnant, a handful, bare bones, a handful left. And even over there, it's charagerik, the ego cheshbonis, who is going to be, who's going to be the capo in the ghetto? The guy does on the Vayakumu kol ha'am Mikotoin v'ad godel v'soleh hayolim v'yovoyu mitzroyim kiyoru mipnei akazdim. So whoever was left packed out and escaped. So at this period, Yerushalayim was totally desolate for many years. I think it was like 50 something years, 54 years maybe. I don't remember. For a long time it was totally desolate. So now we're going back into what's going on into the kingdom back in Babylon. It was 37 years from when Yochanan. If you remember, Yochanan was the last remnant of Malchus Beis David who was left. That means everybody was already killed. But earlier, back in the Golus Yochanan, so v'hi b'shloisha sheva shana the Golus Yochanan Melech Yehuda b'shnayim asa chodesh b'esed v'shiva l'chodesh. After Nebuchadnezzar dies, Nasa Evil Meroidach Melech Bavel b'shnas Malchus. So Evil Meroidach. So as long as Nebuchadnezzar was in power, he was languishing in prison for 37 years. So basically, there was no live ruling power left from Malchus Beis David, besides Yochanan, who was taken all the way back. In Yechonyo Melech Bavel, he was all the way back there. And when Nebuchadnezzar died and Evil Meroidach took over, he freed everybody as a sign of, when kings come in, like they gave like asylum, like a gesture, where they freed all the old prisoners. And he raised again up as Rosh Yehoiachin, Melech Yehuda mi Beis HaKela. Mi Beis HaKela. They took him out of the prison. And this is very interesting that they found, just archaeologically, they found, you could find these cuneiforms, or whatever they call these tablets, where they actually found like the rations for Yechonyo. They have from Nebuchadnezzar, they have a lot of archaeological finds from the reign of Nebuchadnezzar, and they actually found like these tablets which describe the rations that was given, one of the names that was given up from the royal court to Yechonyo. Vaydaber itay toivos, and Evil Meroidach spoke good to him, like he tried to appease him, he tried to console him. Vayiten es kisoy me'al kisei hamelachim ashita b'Bavel. So he became one of the kings who sat in his court, and he raised them up again. And Chazal say that Yechonyo was one of the great inspirational stories of a Baal Tshuva. That he was one of those that, from languishing 37 years, he returned back to Hashem. And the Gemara even says a whole story how they once brought him his wife, and he had an opportunity that he should be together with her. And the Maisa, she said that she saw a drop of dam, and therefore he didn't. And he sacrificed for Hashem because he became righteous again. And according to the Cheshvan of Chazal, it comes out that the seed of Mashiach lives on through the seed of Yechonyo, which means even after everything was already destroyed and done, the first thing Hashem did was that He sent down the Talmidei Chachamim, the Cheresh and the Masger, down to Babel to preempt, and they should set up their bottom Midrashim, that when the rest of Klal Yisrael was exiled, there was already an infrastructure of Jewish leadership and Torah scholarship. The second thing that was done, that even before the whole Golus actually hit full force, the seed of David HaMelech, or the seed of Mashiach, was already protected by Babel itself. And Babel was the one who kept Yechonyo alive and ensured that the Zera...
So you did have kids afterwards?
Yeah.
I guess.
Yeah. Vishino, as big day kiloi, they changed his clothing from the prison clothing to royal clothing. V'achal lechem tomid l'fanav kol yimei chayav. And he ate bread on his, by his table. That means he was a ben bias. He hung out over there, and he was an important figure. And his meals were consistent. Every single day, in the same time, for the rest of his life. Which, again, there's like archaeological evidence for this part. That's very interesting. And the end of Sefer Melachim, Havdan Melachim Sechtas Melachim, the end of Sechtas Melachim ends with this story of how after the entire Churban, the entire fall of both Malchei Yehuda and Malchei Yisrael, after everything was desolate and we were exiled to a totally new place, the seed of redemptions were the seed of redemptions of Jewish leadership, Jewish scholarship, And the seed of Mashiach continued on. Achan.